Now, Kansas Governor Sam Brownback has written a letter to the Prime Minister expressing grief and profound regret at the recent incidents of hate crime against Indian nationals. Brownback has said that Kansas does not have place for hate and intolerance. He also expressed condolence in his letter, stating that he is grief-stricken and that people of Kansas share the shock and horror of extremism. U.S. State Department spokesperson Mark Toner also expresses condolences over Srinivas's killing last month. He stated that the investigation is still underway and await the results of the probe. 32-year-old Indian techie Srinivas was killed in a shooting by a U.S. Navy veteran who yelled that "Get out of my country" before open firing at him. But it's also a story of bravery, because Iron Grillot is another foreign national who was present at that spot, who rose to the occasion to save Srinivas and his friend Alok. Iron right now has been injured, but the United States Kansas Governor Sam Brownback standing in solidarity with the Indian techie and his family. Srinivas was injured and succumbed to his injuries, but his friend Alok also held candlelight vigil in Kansas City, where the entire city came together to mourn the loss of Srinivas. My colleague Smita is joining us on the story now. Smita, of course, the voice of solidarity is welcome, but what about the rise in hate crime, which has been targeting Indians repeatedly?
Look, Devina, we have to look at this, that at least this is a positive message. The Kansas governor who wrote this letter on 3rd of March to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he speaks for his community, and it's quite an impassioned, letter where he talks about, in fact, Srinivas's courage, strength, and that how everybody that he has spoken to in the community has spoken of in very high terms of Srinivas. He also goes on to mention, in fact, the indomitable courage and spirit of Srinivas's widow, in fact, that has been at display. So these are really the stories to look to, because you remember that there was that 1-minute silence also observed by US congressmen just hours prior to Donald Trump's address to the, in fact, joint house, where he went ahead and he said that the community stands united in its rage and condemnation of these attacks, be it the Kansas killing or the attacks against the Jewish community centers. But having said that, it's true that, of course, as long as you keep on making statements that derive their source from hatred, from fear, they will lead you into a cycle of violence. And it's not just about 1 or 2 killings in US. I'm talking to a lot of people across the community, Devina, and they do suggest that it's almost become a daily occurrence where people are stalked in metro stations. People come and shout out a slogan against them, like "Go back to your country." And a lot of these incidents are going unreported. So there is that underlying sense of fear and anxiety, and that definitely is something that needs to be worked upon with a sense of urgency.
No, but how will this also impact the United States, where the entire backbone of the Silicon Valley is the Indian origin techies as well? Many Indians who have gone abroad and are providing the skilled labor that the United States needs. And even as we're looking at the rise in crime, Smita, what is the US government going to do to ensure that this skilled pool of labor does not feel threatened and stays in the United States?
Look, under their new, in fact, visa measures that they are taking once they suspended the premium H-1B visa processing for a couple of months, which is, in fact, the visa that most Indian tech firms and techies use. They said that essentially what the new visa vetting process is going to do is try and keep away unskilled labor. The Indian community is respected by and large. It's interesting that over just the last 1 week in local TV US stations, I've actually seen special broadcasts mentioning that how this community has done well for itself. But the government of India is also continuing to take up the issue. Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar had a series of high-level meetings in the US recently, including with the, in fact, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Dharmendra Pradhan, the oil minister in India, has just had, in fact, a good meeting with the energy minister Rick Perry, where the governments are talking about work, trade, but underlying is, of course, the welfare of the community. And even if it means that US citizens themselves of Indian origin are getting attacked, the ramifications are there for the diaspora, and that needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely. Thanks, Smita, for joining us. Some more breaking news coming in at this point of time.